I'm going to talk a little bit about US F1 visa. But before I go ahead and do that, I'm just going to introduce myself. My name is Adeleke Augustus Oluwatobi. Um, Hi, I'm a student in the United States because I'm still on F1 visa, but I currently work as a research associate for a research company in Research Angle Park in North Carolina. And I'm going to be sharing my experience with USF1 visa and also what I've noticed over time as far as like getting approved for USF1 visa is concerned. Now, the first thing that I'd like to point out is there is no magic formula for USF1 visa, really. I know a lot of people make promises that they can get you visa, they can do this, they can do that. Really, there's no a one size fit all kind of information as far as USF1 visa is concerned. And I have this nice little slide to get you guys in a mind frame of how the whole visa process works. Okay. So it says guilty until proven otherwise. So by default, whenever you walk into like a visa interview, the person that is interviewing you sees you as an intending immigrant. That is just the summary of everything. So your ultimate responsibility, like the only responsibility that you have as far as your visa interview is concerned is proving yourself to not be an intending immigrant. Now, that is difficult because in all truth, right, if you're going to be sincere with yourself, very few people come to the US, get their degree and go back to Nigeria. As a matter of fact, one of your primary intents is, oh, more, I just want to jackpot, that kind of thing. You can't say that to a visa officer, of course. But it is much more difficult because deep down, your chances of going back to Nigeria is very slim. So you have to understand that you should do everything your possible best to prove yourself as not an intended immigrant. So that's the purpose of this slide that you're looking at. Now, whenever this is something that a lot of people that have gone for visa interview can relate to. If you don't have a why, it is going to be very, very difficult to present your case. You should have a very solid story. I'm going to talk about that very soon. But the basis of your story rests on your why. Seriously, if you can answer this question genuinely, this is going to be very, very helpful. If you can answer the question genuinely as to why are you going to the US? There are so many other countries that you can go to. You can go to Germany. I'm going to give you a list after this presentation. You can go to any other country that you want. Why do you choose US over all other countries? Okay. Why are you going for that particular program that you're going for? And most importantly, why are you going now? Those three whys are very, very important. If you cannot convince yourself, it will be very difficult for you to convince another person that is seeing you as an intended immigrant by default, So you have to have a very good answer for this. And for most part, when people think why US, it could have been any other country. If you're talking about people go in there and say, oh, because US is very developed. Well, Germany is also very developed. UK is also very developed. Australia is very developed. Canada is very developed, right? So the point is you have to see beyond, it's just a developed country and it's the best place in the world. That is not true, okay? So why US? Maybe your school is one of the very few schools in the world that offers the program that you're going for. Maybe you've been interacting with a particular professor in your school that happens to be a lead person in that field that you're interested in. You see why I'm trying to get you in that mind frame as to why US, not just because it's a big country, not just because it's beautiful in the US, not just because it snows in the US, okay? Not just because it's a developed country, but because there's a particular reason why you're going to US. Because, well, maybe the program that you're looking for is specifically in the US. Maybe US is a world leader in that particular program. Maybe your school is one of the very few schools in the world that offer that particular program. Maybe there's a professor that you've been interacting with and it happens to be in your field and you want to be under his tutelage, things like that. That's why US. Think along that line. Now, why this program? It's a very tricky question because more often than not, they will not ask you this question directly, right? But they want to see that you understand what you are doing. Take, for instance, I studied physics in Nigeria, for example. I'm just using an example. I did not study physics in Nigeria, okay? But let's imagine that I studied physics in Nigeria, right? And I am coming I'm coming to the US for grad school, and I'm telling the visa officer that I'm coming for master's in business administration. And I have never worked in my life in Nigeria. I just got done with my NYSC. Obviously, that is a very awful story because number one, MBA is very expensive. Number two, MBA is not meant for beginner. Good MBA program will not even admit you if you've not had any work experience whatsoever. So everything kills into your story. Why are you going for this program? Even if you are transitioning to a different field, maybe you've had work experience in that field. Maybe I studied physics and I've been working in a bank for 5 or 8 years, right? It is reasonable for me to want to get an MBA if it's going to help my career, right? Even though my undergrad is in physics or something that is not related to banking, I have had actual work experience in the bank, and I see that I need this MBA for me to progress in my career. That is a very relatable story, if that makes sense to you guys. So this all boils down to, don't just I know most of the time we really want to leave Nigeria. It's understandable. We really want to leave Nigeria, or we really want to leave our country, and we just take any admission that comes our way. And the sad thing about US visa is that the more you appear for interview and you get denied, the lower your chances of getting approval. That is just the basic truth, because as time goes on, you start to appear desperate. Okay, so the point is, you want to get your story straight. Why are you going to the US? Why are you going for this particular program? And most importantly, why? Why now? Why are you doing it now? Why is it important that you go, that you get a degree now? Why is it important that you get into grad school now? Why is it important that you do this particular program now? Okay, take for instance, Nigeria. We have like so many sector that is not doing well. I remember reading a particular visa transcript on Nairaland a couple of years ago, well, a couple of months ago, probably like 8 or 9 months ago, almost a year. And the guy was supposed to come here for his PhD in electrics or electronics or electricity, something anyway. And he's been working for PhD for a while. And he appeared before the visa officer, and the visa officer asked him just question, what course are you going for? And he said, I'm going for PhD in electrical or something like that. Where have you been working? He has been working for PhCN for a while. And that was the end of the conversation. You know why? Because even the visa officer knows that Nigeria is struggling with erratic power supply, right? So it only makes sense that if you can get people who would get training in US or whatever and come back and help fix the problem. So the point is, you have to get your story right. You have to see a gap that would make you appear as somebody that would come back and bless the community. So why US? Why this program? Why now? Now, another thing that I would like to talk about is where. So I wrote something funny. This is something I used to tell my friends. Okay, I would say, you are a Nigerian. Sorry for non-Nigerians that are here, but I'm from Nigeria, so it's easy for me to use Nigeria as an example. Imagine somebody coming from Kenya, applying for a Nigerian study visa to study in a college of education, and the person is spending close like 7 or 8 million naira just to study in college of education. You know, that doesn't fit well. I mean, it doesn't align, because I believe there are so many other college of education in Kenya where you would not have to spend as much and get the same amount of education, if that makes any sense. So the point of this is that your school matters a lot. Now, not everybody's going to get into Harvard, for sure. Not everybody's going to get into Cornell or Yale or whatever, or Texas A&M or all these big schools. Not everybody's going to get into big schools like that. But make sure that you're not going to a mushroom school. Mushroom school in the sense that these are schools that are designed just to collect international students money. Okay, so their ultimate goal is really not to get you into the US. The ultimate goal is to have you make some deposits and then give you I-20, and good luck with you and your I-20 at the embassy. Don't just go for any house school. You don't have to go for top tier school. You don't have to go for like Ivy League school, but there are schools that are just perfect for international students. I hope the person that's going to talk about school will cover this, but there are different categories of school in the US. You have like tier 1 school, tier 2 school, tier 3 schools. This is something you can also research by yourself. But most of the time, when people submit application, you want to focus on tier 2 school. That's kind of like in the middle of everything. So you want to focus a lot of your application on tier 2 school. Those are like, they are called R2 research school. Okay, you have R1, you have R2, you have R3. So let's say you're applying for a program. Let's say you have the budget to apply for 5 schools, for example. Okay, you can try your luck based on your profile. If you have a good GPA, if you have a good good GPA, good good GRE scores. If you have a nice profile, you can apply to one or two schools in the tier one school. Just try your luck. Who knows? And then a lot of your focus should be on the R2 schools, which are number one, these schools, the competition is not crazy, and also they have good funding most of the time, and they are not shabby schools. Okay. And number three, your chance of getting to schools like that is higher, and you can submit an application or two to R3 schools. They are called safety school. Okay. Oh, okay. They are called safety schools. So basically, if you can check, I think the easiest way to see all this ranking around R2 is like checking just it's called Carnegie's University Research Ranking, but that's not my business at this point. My point is your school matters a lot. Don't just settle for any house school and wing it. People do that a lot with visa. Don't wing it. Okay, it's a serious business. Make sure you are going to a good school, not a mushroom school. And the next thing is who will pay for it. Okay. I have a YouTube channel that I'm so sad that I don't post there as often as I should, but I'm always like an advocate of funding. Okay, because I believe that funding plays a significant role. I came to the US without full funding. I got in-state tuition. So instead of paying about 15,000 or thereabout, I think I paid about $5,000 myself. So my first semester, I paid out of pocket in quotes, and then for the remaining part of my program, my school paid the entire tuition. I also got some stipend. Point is, if you're really serious, first, okay. If you're coming for MBA, for example, or business analytics, for example, or any of these professional programs, your chances of getting funding is not as high as compared to somebody that is coming for, let's say, a life science program or STEM, say computer science or biology or physics or chemistry or cell and molecular biology and all of those things. Those fields get funded a lot. Okay. Now, it will be very absurd for you to go to the embassy with an I-20 that shows that you are supposed to pay $50,000 and you are coming here to study biology. The visa officer will know that you've not done your homework very well, because no sane person will accept that kind of admission offer, because almost every program in the US is sponsored at graduate level as far as biology and all this life science program is concerned. Now, the story is going to be different if you're coming in for MBA and you have like $50,000 as your tuition. Yes, the visa officer will understand, like, well, this is a professional level course. MBAs are not meant for beginners. Good MBA programs are meant for mid-level career people, right? Which means you most probably can afford to pay it, or the company that you work for can afford to pay the tuition. You see why, again, it is not smart that you just finish NYSC and you're applying for MBA in America, because you cannot even afford it. How are you going to align your story for the visa officer, if that makes any sense? So point is, you also have to, while you're thinking about school, while you're thinking about your why is the US, why is this program, you also have to think about where the money is going to come from. Okay. So one thing is, it is easy to go to the embassy and lie, or people lie all the time. I'm not going to come here and tell you that, oh, everybody that appear at the embassy and get their visa did not lie. Some people lie. So it's one thing to get there and say, well, my uncle, sister, father, brother, mother is going to pay for it. Whereas you have no uncle, sister, father, brother, mother. You're just praying that it will work out. And then if you get the visa and you get here, you will know that it's a whole different story. America that you see in movies is different from America that is the real America. People suffer. People with working sense are homeless in America. I will not lie to you. So you also have to be genuine to yourself about answering this question, like, who will pay for it? Can you afford it? Are programs mostly funded in your field? If they are mostly funded, then you should make sure that you get some level of funding, even if it's not 100%. Make sure that you get some level of funding. Who is your sponsor? If you're using a sponsor, right? If, let's say, your program is $50,000 and your school is paying 50% of it, and you have to show that you have the balance, sometimes you need a sponsor. I also used a sponsor myself. Who is sponsoring? The further you get away from your immediate family, the less believable it is that that person is paying that much for your education. Okay. So if your parents are sponsoring you, they want to know how many kids does your parents have. Can they afford it? Fine. If it's your uncle, but the further you get away, your father, your brother, uncle, sister, it becomes less believable. Okay. So think about that very well too. And also, another question to think about is, what is your end goal? In short, what's your plan after school? They're going to ask you this question at the embassy. Like, they will directly ask you, what is your plan after school? Now, what you should think about is they don't want to hear you say, well, I plan to sit in America and live in America for the rest of my life. That is automatically like denial immediately. They're not even going to stress it. You should think of how you present your end goal during your visa interview. Okay, what is your end goal? What do you plan to do with this degree? If you're coming here for theology, if you're a Reverend Father in Nigeria, what's your plan goal? Well, my end goal is to get my master's in theology and go back and become a senior Reverend Father in Nigeria. You know what I mean? If you're coming here for computer science, my goal is to come back here and get my degree, get the experience, and come back to Nigeria and become part of the fintech community that is growing crazily in Nigeria right now. You know, things like that. You must be able to point your end goal to back to Nigeria one way or the other. Okay, so. And if you present your situation very well, it is something that people can relate to. Oh, you are coming here for cell and molecular biology. Well, my goal is to come back to Nigeria and become a research scientist because we have very few research scientists in Nigeria. You know, things like that, right? So that's the idea. Is there any prospect for your program in Nigeria afterwards? You must find a way to present your course that, well, people, we need this course in Nigeria. Okay, that should be one of your ultimate goals. Now, this is just to sum up everything. Okay. What's your story? All of these things that I've pointed out to you guys, your why now, your who is paying for it, blah, 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 your program and all of that. You should craft all of that into a story. You need a story. Believe it or not, story sells, not just in anything, even in visa interview. People want to listen to your story. What do you have going on for you? Okay, you have to provide answers to those questions that I showed in the previous slide and make them into a story that fits your profile perfectly. You need to get your story straight, okay? So that even when they wake you up in the middle of the night, you are not stammering and be like, this is what I want to do when I graduate. I'm not sure yet. You have this perfect story for yourself. And your job is to sell that story to the person that is interviewing you so much so that they hear it, they want to give you a chance to succeed in life. Okay, so that's the idea. I'm just trying to rush through because I see I've been talking for 18 minutes now. Now, this last part, you would see that the first person that presented, I have never met her. I've never heard of her name before, but she said something. She said, get your story straight and also don't shake while you are sharing your story. She said that. I remember that very, very well. Okay. Confidence, child, confidence. That's the one type. That's my way of telling you not to shake. Okay. The first thing is, if you don't have confidence, your story will not be believable. Okay, you have to walk in there with the mindset that what's the worst that can happen. They will say, oh, we did not give you visa. Nobody's going to deport you from Nigeria. Nigeria is still your father's country. There's no big deal. Move on. Or apply if you have a genuine reason to reapply again. Point is, walk in there as if you deserve the visa. Don't just go there and start shaking like, oh, I'm not sure if I deserve this visa or not. Okay. And I also noted here that the hardest part is getting to a good program and maybe getting funding. Visa application is arguably the easiest part of all of these things, really, because it is out of your control. You can only present your case. You don't decide if you're going to get the visa or not. So why would you be overly stressed about it? You understand what I mean? So if you have the confidence, you're in a good program, you have some sort of funding, bro, just walk in there, present your story, get everything straight, and you will be good to go in most cases if your mother and father are also good prayer warrior. You know what I mean? So that's the last thing that I would like to talk about. And I told you that at the end of this slide, I'm going to show you some other countries that are not America. To people, I know most of the time we've been exposed to like American movies, and it seems as if we don't get to America, this is the end of the world or something like that. Seriously, it is not the end of the world. There are other amazing countries in the world that you can go to and get the same quality of education. Seriously, US, one of them, Canada, one of them, UK. I have so many friends in the UK now. And the good thing about UK is that UK also recently introduced post-work study visa or program like that, like you have in America too. So they have that in UK now. If you study in the UK, you get 2 years or so to stay back and work, you know. Same thing for Canada too. Germany, education in Germany is also very free. I don't know about Switzerland, but it's a very beautiful place. Finland, also very beautiful. Australia, I have friends in Australia as well. So the point is there are so many other options that you can explore rather than getting hung up on the idea of US, because we've been sold a very like beautiful America. I understand that. I mean, the US, so I understand. I lived in Nigeria for the best part of my life, but now I'm in the US. I've been in the US for almost for over 2 years now. So I understand the stories that have been told, But as somebody that has experience on both sides, I'm telling you, US is not the all and be all of the whole story. Okay, there are also other countries that you can explore and get the same level of education and the same level of exposure as you get in America. That's all. I'm sorry for speaking really fast. That's one of the problems that I have in life.